Unstoppable. Wind gusts fan the flames, driving fires across the state.
Oh, just smoke everywhere, thick black smoke. Very frightening.
Counting the cost, homes and livelihoods destroyed. Union corruption under the microscope. The government set to announce a royal commission. And 50 years on, remembering the victims of Australia's worst peacetime naval disaster. Good evening, Lisa Maximovic with ABC News. Victorians have faced their worst fire threat since Black Saturday, and it's come just days after the 5th anniversary of the disaster. High temperatures and strong winds drove blazes described as intense and fast-moving as a weather change swept across the state, bringing gusts of up to 100 kilometres an hour. As yet, there's no official estimate of the number of homes and farm properties that have been lost. By mid-afternoon, there were 70 fires burning across the state. The blazes stretched from Goongerah in the far east of the state to Buchan and the Latrobe Valley, where the town of Morwell and the Hazelwood Power Station are under threat. Fires are also burning in more densely populated areas around Melbourne, threatening Gisborne on the northern outskirts of Melbourne and Warrandyte to the northeast, as well as Mickleham near Melbourne Airport at Tullamarine. At one stage, a fire threatened a boundary of the airport before being brought under control. We begin our coverage tonight at Gisborne, where Peter Carline has filed this report.
From the air, it was clear to see how ferocious the fire was near Gisborne. It moved quickly, destroying several properties in its path, giving residents only moments to flee.
We saw the puff of smoke, walked up to the front gate and we were watching the smoke billow over, and that's when the cool change hit, changed the fire directly straight for us, and that's when we knew we were in trouble.
Authorities struggled to keep up with the pace of the flames, emergency vehicles desperate to get ahead of panicked residents to block the roads. The Neagle family's property and horses survived the first fire front.
Yeah, a few hours before we had them in there and they were kicking and screaming.
But as conditions worsened again, hours later the danger wasn't over.
Just sort of open the gates up for the horses to, we better get going.
With the wind change, the fire has done a complete 180 turn and gone back in the other direction. The road that we were standing on here just minutes ago has now been engulfed and residents have been told to leave. They've opened the gates for their animals in a bid to let them try and outrun the fire.
We had a look and I started to pack everything and thought, well, we're going to get out.
The town of Riddles Creek was next in the fire's path. The fire front moving so fast, all authorities could do was issue an emergency warning and tell people still there it was too late to leave. Residents again desperately trying to save their homes. In the east of the state near Lindenow, residents were also forced to take action. Fires also threatened towns like Morwell and even the Hazelwood Power Station. The Premier, though, has praised emergency authorities, saying lessons have been learnt from Black Saturday.
We now have better warning systems. We now have a better system of all emergency services agencies working together. We now have a community that's more alert, more ready to respond to warnings.
But late this afternoon, back at Gisborne South, it still wasn't over. More fires flaring up as winds continued to swirl. The danger far from over. The situation continues tonight. Peter Carline, ABC News, Gisborne South.
ABC reporter Jackie Peake joins us live now from the fire at Riddles Creek near Sunbury. Jackie, what can you tell us about the current situation there?
This fire, Lisa, has been up and down throughout the day, basically. It turned on itself earlier today when the wind change came through and pushed it back northeast along ground that had already been covered by the fire. We've been stopped here and people have been evacuating throughout the day, and some of them have been trying to come back in, but the road is blocked here, and most of them have been told to move on to family and friends' places away from the fire. This fire recently it was downgraded to a watch and act message because fire crews had got it under control. But within almost minutes, it seemed that an emergency warning was reissued and the fire impacted the town of Riddles Creek. We know homes have been lost at Gisborne, and a winery at Gisborne has also been lost today. And we are not yet sure of the actual impact on Riddles Creek, although it appears that homes may have been lost.
Out at Craigieburn in Melbourne's north, do you know if properties have been lost there?
Yes, a number of properties have been burnt there, as well as tractors and farm machinery and sheds. And we saw that fire do a lot of damage in that area, although the warning was downgraded in recent hours.
From Riddles Creek. Thank you, Jackie. 3 homes have been destroyed in Melbourne's east. Hundreds of residents opted to leave as fire burnt throughout parts of Warran. Karen Percy reports.
In Melbourne's northeast, it was a desperate effort to save homes. The family of 5 living here left just half an hour before the fire turned their home into a burned-out wreck.
They just said we're getting out of here. And that was it. They were gone.
Neighbours watched on, thankful that a much-anticipated wind change turned the fire away from their homes.
And then this house caught on fire and I just had to go back home and just make sure that my house was safe, more or less. And it was. There was a couple of spot fires, but no, it was quite horrific. I wouldn't want to go through it again.
Helen Grimaldi was hanging out the washing when she saw the smoke across the valley.
We think it was maybe tin sheds. People's ride on mowers full of probably petrol, little tins, not exactly sure, but exploding. Black, thick smoke and, yeah, very frightening.
The CFA says power lines caused some of the explosions.
So as the smoke and the fire travels under those power lines, they will tend to earth out to the ground, which creates a large bang, which is what we believe the residents and firefighters were hearing.
A total of 25 acres burned over about 3 hours. There were 150 firefighters here and 2 helicopters working to contain the fire. Late today, it had been largely contained and people started returning, unsure of what they'd find. What do you know of the state of your house right now?
Don't know. We're trying to find out, so...
The immediate danger might have passed, but the CFA says the uncertain conditions mean the threat remains. Karen Percy, ABC News, Warrandyte.
Now from the Incident Control Centre in Melbourne, Fire Services Commissioner Craig Lapsley joins us. Mr Lapsley, we've heard from reporters about the situations in Warrandyte, Gisborne and Sunbury. What can you tell us about the latest on those current fires still going?
We've still got 16 emergency warnings in place, and that is obviously in the outer metropolitan area of what you've just talked about, Gisborne, Craigieburn and Warrandyte, but also in Gippsland. So Morwell, significant fire burning on the western side of Morwell. It's had impacts on the open cut at Hazelwood, threatening another open cut at your lawn, and also moving into the outer parts of Morwell. So that's a critical fire, and also the fact it's impacting on the power generation area is something of significant concern. But likewise the same down in Far East Gippsland, where Orbost had an evacuation order issued this afternoon for the part of Orbost to move into the centre part of Orbost away from the fire that was in the northwestern corner. So it's been a very busy afternoon, huge impacts, and we've still got a fire night in front of us. The cool change or the southwesterly change hasn't moved through all of Gippsland nor the northeast yet. So we've still got very hot conditions, very dry conditions, and the winds are still very strong in those areas.
Do you have any more recent figures about properties and homes that have been destroyed today?
Not in the comprehensive sense. We know that properties have been lost in the outer metropolitan. That would be close to 10 properties in those figures between those 3 fires. It'll take us a little bit longer as the conditions cool down to get a full assessment, but we've definitely had property loss. One of the things that we haven't had reported is significant injury or death, which is a great outcome, but for those that have lost their property, it's certainly devastating for them.
Craig Lapsley at the Incident Control Centre, and our thoughts will be the crews out there fighting the fires tonight.
Certainly.